Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of F1 Career Mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we are headed to Mexico, coming off of our first career 3 consecutive points finishes. It's been a big upswing for Williams and performance. We are done upgrading the car really for the season because we are now focusing in on adapting parts for next season as Max Verstappen comes into Mexico with the championship lead. But Aston Martin now goes to the top in the R&D. We'll see how that plays a role for them this weekend. We had some big news. We have signed a contract extension with Williams. It's a 1-year extension. We will remain with Williams for next season. However, on the Mercedes side, they also announced in basically duo or alongside Williams that Formula 2 prospect and up-and-coming driver that Mercedes has been developing, Aiden Jackson, will be behind the wheel of the Mercedes alongside George Russell next season there. So that leaves 1, maybe 2 seats left potentially available. We still don't know what's going on with Perez and Red Bull. VCARB, there could still be a seat there available, but as well on top of that, Lance Stroll's seat at Aston Martin is definitely, potentially, I should say, up for grabs. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Nonetheless, I'm excited for the future of this next season coming up. Now we've got our future solidified, and it was time to sign a contract extension instead of waiting it out and waiting to see what was going to happen. We signed the 1-year deal, and we will remain with Williams for at least 1 more season in this career, and I wasn't disappointed by this, to be honest. This is a team that's continuing to make progress. We're one of the best midfield teams right now, and I think we're going to be setting ourselves up well going into Season 2 with the regulation changes as well. So I do believe we've got some serious potential going into Season 2 to be a regular point-scoring team. We're not going to be fighting for race wins, I don't think, in Season 2, but definitely, you know, maybe by the end of Season 2, fighting for a podium here and there, and then we'll see what we can do in Season 3, maybe stick with Williams, go elsewhere. Time will only tell. Speaking of time, we're looking for a quick time here in qualifying. We've got loads of momentum coming into this weekend as we come through to start our opening lap in Q number 1. Of course, just trying to be top 15 and move on into that second qualifying session here. Like I said earlier, the development for this car has stopped pretty well for the remainder of Season 1. We are focusing in on, you know, the Season 2 car and the regulation changes that are on the way here as we come through to cross the stripe. Now, going P16 our first lap, not great, so we would have to make a second lap, and we would start to find some time improvement pretty quick throughout the, of course, first part of the lap, and it would continue on towards the end of the lap. So we found ourselves about 4/10 of a second of a gain, about half a second actually, as we came through out of the final turn to the line. This will be enough to put us through into Q2. That goes P12. Our teammate of Albon actually goes quicker. He's P10. We would drop to P14, so definitely lacking a little bit of pace going into Q2, as there's a couple of tenths of a second between myself and Albon. Lawson out-qualifies Tsunoda in his second qualifying weekend. What can he do as he tries to go 2-0 up on Tsunoda right off the bat here in the head-to-head? For them is in Q2, a slip, a slide, a mistake, and a spin, and we damaged the rear wing because I didn't engage the brake, and just like that, our qualifying's over because we have to repair the rear wing, and that was just laziness on my part, not thinking about the barrier and not holding the brake, and just like that, we're done. And Sergio Perez is out in Q2 as well. Albon goes P14, and Perez, with his career still on the line, in a rough qualifying effort in his home Grand Prix.
Bienvenidos to the most populous city in North America. The legendary Jim Clark won the first official F1 race back in 1963 here, and we've had a veritable who's who of winners ever since. It's Mexico City, and therefore the Mexico City Grand Prix. At 2,285 meters above sea level, the thin air of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez poses a unique challenge, just to a driver's skill, but to the efficiency of their engines as well. 17 corners then make a lap of this 2.6-mile circuit, expect incredible speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and overtaking into the braking zones of Turn 1 and Turn 4. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Russell, Verstappen, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Ocon, Liam Lawson, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Albon, Golden Boy, Tsunoda, Butler, Ackerman, Bottas, and Nico Hülkenberg rounds off the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today.
So then we'll be starting on the medium compound tire, going for the 2-stop, switching on to the mediums, then ending the race on the soft sometime around that 25-26, 10 laps to go in the Grand Prix. Let's get ready to roll from Mexico.
Right then, we're off for the formation lap here in Mexico, and the excitement is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race.
Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, your front row, as Hamilton and Russell make up row 2. Who's going to get to turn 1 first?
So as all the cars take their positions on the grid, the teams will be hoping their strategies pay off for them in today's race. The question I'm asking is which teams have got it right, which ones have got it horribly wrong?
Right, boys, let's aim for 4 points finishes in a row. I don't see why we can't do it. Of course, not starting exactly where we want to be, but we can move forward.
Yes, mate, we can. A long run into turn 1. Make the most of it.
So then, ready to roll here from the Mexican Grand Prix, starting right there with our teammate of Alex Albon, Tsunoda behind. Watch out for Liam Lawson, a great qualifying effort there from him. What can he do on the run into turn 1? What can Sergio Perez do? As well, of course, his home race. Could it be his last race for Red Bull? They continue to find themselves in a tight position in the Constructors' Championship. Let's get ready to roll, starting right behind the Mexican driver of Perez's 5. Red lights, lights out. Ferrari lead the way on the run into turn 1, but row 2's where you really want to be now. A poor start from Stroll, Gasly, Ocon as well. We split 4 wide in the middle into P11 immediately on the run into turn 1 is Carlos Sainz, who takes the lead, and there's Hamilton going side by side with Charles Leclerc through these first couple of corners. Now Lando Norris settling in as well in front of Alonso, as well as George Russell, Max Verstappen just behind them all. We're going to see some side by side down into the next left-hander, the 90-degree left-hander that is. Norris on the right, Leclerc on the left side. They go wheel to wheel. Who's going to come out on top of this one? It's Leclerc. They settle in, and now everybody's pretty well single file except for right at the back of the grid. I as well put a bit of a fight to Esteban Ocon. Unfortunately, couldn't quite make anything happen out of that now. So we would maintain a solid running position, however, and I actually got in front of Sergio Perez, as you guys saw on the run into turn 1. And Perez, though, I mean, he's actually tucked up behind me, and he's putting on some pressure as we head into the DRS zone with no DRS, of course, and there he is showing the nose as we break late into the corner. Perez looks up the inside, actually go wide, and we're not going to get called for anything, so we can maintain P11 and stay tucked behind the Alpine of Esteban Ocon. Now as we come to complete the first of 36 laps, Carlos Sainz leads the way across the stripe. His future sounds like it's going to be announced as soon as the next episode. We know it's either Red Bull or Aston Martin or maybe V-Carb as well. Sergio Perez, we still just don't know what his situation is. Will he be at Red Bull? Will he be at V-Carb? Will he even be on the grid next season? That's really the big question there. As Perez was driving away, it was a great start, but I am struggling for pace early on in this Grand Prix. We're down to P12 as we come through to complete now lap 2. DRS now enabled, and the fight up front is about to start picking up. Hamilton is reeling in Carlos Sainz, and speaking of reeling in, Pierre Gasly to my inside. I am just not really capable of putting down a great pace. I was kind of struggling with the balance of the car. Gasly struggling with brakes. He locks up into turn 1. We take the position back immediately, but I was really struggling with the balance of the car. The car was like that there, you can see, slipping and sliding, and then at points on the circuit it would understeer. So there were certain points I was getting understeer, there were certain points I was getting oversteer, but Gasly capitalizes on that mess right there. He passes us back for P12. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead Heating up as well, Lewis Hamilton going around the outside potentially here of Carlos Sainz in a turn one. They're wheel to wheel through the first few corners, but this is not going to be an easy overtake for the Mercedes driver. The two Ferraris up towards the front, but Hamilton gets clear, and as that was happening as well, we repass Pierre Gasly on the run into turn one with the DRS assistance. We move back through into P12, now over 2.3, 2.4 or so seconds behind Sergio Perez in P11 as he's desperately trying to move his way forward to keep Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship alive. Now, as you can see, again, back and forth here with Gasly. He gets us a lap later on lap 5, passes us again on the run into turn number 1. So, a little bit of a just back and forth with the Alpine and the French driver. And as you can see now, though, we would kind of settle in here in P13 on lap 6. Now, Gasly loses it, spins around right in front of us now. No safety car, and we remain green, as that is going to be a devastating blow to his race. And Alpine, over the last couple of Grand Prix, we've really seen them struggling for handling, mechanical failures, self-spins. Ocon had that as well in Circuit of the Americas, as we actually take our first track limits warning there, as we're slipping and sliding all over the place now, as here comes fellow Canadian of Lance Stroll looking for the position. Not far behind him is my teammate of Alex Albon. Now Stroll goes through, takes P12, we drop to P13 as we continue to struggle for pace. Sainz looking for a move back on Lewis Hamilton into turn 1, lap 8, dives one up the inside. Charles Leclerc is in prime position to pounce on this one now as they continue wheel to wheel. Hamilton keeps it pinned on the left side. Leclerc's got a great view of this now. Verstappen as well moving his way forward. He's back up to P6 as they continue wheel to wheel into the left-hander. Hamilton looking for win number 2 on the season. Who is going to give this one up? I don't think it's going to be Lewis now. Carlos tries to give it up the inside. He fails to do so. Leclerc continues to run P3. We are going to see again a mix of 2-stop strategies and 1-stop strategies as well. Leclerc tried to make the 2-stop work last time out in Coda. Ended up getting the short end of the stick, which saw Lando Norris and Max Verstappen finish in front of him. Leclerc had to settle for P3 as those guys in front of him tried the 1-stop. Speaking of Leclerc, now move to the left side of his teammate of Sainz. Now who's going to come out on top of this one? We are seeing great battles so far. They lean on each other a little bit there, but Sainz is going to concede right here after a bit of contact there on the right rear. No, he's not. He's going to fight back up the inside. Leclerc and Sainz scrap it out hard while Hamilton tries to run away with the lead of this race. Leclerc through, takes P2, but I think this is far from over now. He has no DRS. Here comes Sainz, but hold on. There's more cars coming. Here comes Norris and Alonso and maybe even Verstappen as well. They go 3 abreast on the run towards turn number 1. Yellow flags in the back as well. Norris goes through into P2. How about that? The Ferrari's in trouble. They're going backwards. Liam Lawson, who was running top 10, a great start for him, is out of the race. A mechanical failure for the V-Carb driver, and we know what he was doing though. He was in the top 10. Meanwhile, Tsunoda was down in P14. He was putting on an impressive run here in his second race of the season and was outrunning his teammate for the second consecutive race as well. That was quite impressive and certainly something a drive that's really going to be remembered for Lawson at least, and maybe with Red Bull as well. But you can see as the laps go on for myself, we continue to struggle for pace and balance. We're sliding around, we're understeering at other parts of the track. Nothing's working out, so we will be making a downforce adjustment going into the pit stop as we lose a spot now to our teammate. It's just not been a great start to this race. I mean, after turn 1, how about Lando Norris, who's run down Lewis Hamilton? He's going to go around the outside here on the start of lap 11 now as they go wheel to wheel through the first few chicanes now. Here comes Fernando Alonso as well, who's in the mix. We know Aston Martin, they're the number 1 team in the R&D coming into this weekend. Lando Norris with the DRS cuts off Hamilton to the lead. Lando Norris looking for his second win of his career, and it would be 2 consecutive. Alonso's going to go around the outside of Hamilton, who's going to go from first to third in a matter of moments now. A few corners and straightaways included. Yellow flags nearly into the back of Albon. Another self-spin. It's an Alpine again. Just like Gasly, it's his teammate this time. Esteban Ocon headed to Haas next season. Around he goes all on his own. It's a self-implosion for Alpine. On board with Ocon, and yep, he loses it all on his own, running in the points there. P9. I nearly drove into the back of my team at Albon in the process, who checked up there for that mess now. As you can see up in front of us now, Perez scrapping it out with Lance Stroll, and actually Perez was having a mechanical issue. He was a little bit off the pace, so his home race really has not gone well. His home weekend has not gone well. A terrible qualifying effort, and now he was under pressure on the run into turn 1. He's going to lose his points running position. Albon moves through into P10. We're right to the back now of Sergio Perez, and he has a bit of a weird corner right there, and that's going to put him under pressure from myself. A poor exit. All of a sudden, we're putting the Mexican driver under pressure. He's got no DRS either. Here we go to the right side of Perez. We've had our fair share of battles with him recently, side by side. Into the 90-degree left-hander, we continue wheel to wheel, side by side on the exit, and we spin it. We've self-spun ourselves around, and we'll get it collected immediately and spin it back around nearly into oncoming traffic there, trying to desperately get it back going without losing too much time. I don't know what happened. I had no warning. It just went around on me. I had no grip.
Okay, just settle in here. Focus.
A self-error, a rookie error, as Norris is going to bring Alonso, Hamilton, and others into the pits, and Leclerc is going to stay out on the one-stop strategy. If you pit now, you are committing to a two-stop, and we are doing exactly that as we pull into the pits at the end of lap 12, and this has quickly turned into a bit of a disaster drive, and I don't think we're getting 4 consecutive points finishes here, unfortunately, in Mexico. It's unfortunate, but we still have a lot of racing, but we were struggling so much with the balance of the car. We are making a downforce adjustment here, so we'll see how that affects us now, as we were losing quite a bit of time on the straightaways, which was the main reason I was making the adjustment there on the downforce, but we will rejoin as currently the last car running, of course, Liam Lawson being the first and only driver out of the Grand Prix with that mechanical failure. Unfortunate there for him, as we continue to focus in on trying to go forward now, as we're going to see other drivers pit, including my teammate of Alex Albon and a bunch of others. Right now, you got Piastri and Leclerc who stay out on the one stop. So Leclerc tried to do the two stop in Coda. It didn't work. What have they learned? Well, they got to try the one stop is what they've learned, so we'll see how that works out, as they are desperately trying to keep their hopes alive. Sergio Perez hoping that he can help keep Red Bull's Constructors' Championship hopes alive, because that's going to be what really secures his ride for the remainder of the last few races now, as we put some pressure on Devin Butler, who just came out of the pits, and up the inside we go. A fellow Rookie of the Year contender now. He's not going to make it quite easy. We continue wheel to wheel on the run towards the S's now, side by side, but clear into the left-hander. Will now take the position and try to drive away. Now the question is, can we open up that gap to Devin Butler, though, as he is right on the back of us? He might put some more pressure on us before the end of the lap. Yes, he will. He gets back past. We dive it back up the inside. Hold on as we continue wheel to wheel with Butler. He fights back up the inside, goes a little bit wide, opens up the wheel, and that forces us to back out of it now. Still side by side, we back out of it now, and now we'll also have the DRS. So here we go on the run towards turn 1. That long front straightaway right to the back of that Sauber kick machine. We'll go around the outside. We'll actually go very deep into turn 1, but nonetheless the job's done. Back into only P18. All of that for 18th place, and I think this is far from over now as we continue to run only within about half a second of Butler, and he is right up on the back of us, and we still have a lot of racing to go as well. And here comes Butler actually diving one back up my inside into turn 1. I honestly thought we were going to drive away from him. Our pace, I mean, it's been a bit off here this weekend, but it hasn't been this bad. But I mean, the DRS is everything, as I take my second warning of the day, so we cannot take any more. So we got to be careful now, as now Leclerc and Leclerc and Piastri come in for the one-stop strategy. Norris takes the lead, Alonso second, Verstappen third, Hamilton fourth. What can Verstappen do on a quest to try and get another win? It's been a few races now, as Ferrari are going to try and put signs on maybe the two-stop here. We'll see what he does soon enough, as Verstappen now, lap 19, is going to pass Alonso. Is a second and a half a little over behind Lando Norris. Can he run him down? As Leclerc, of course, will have a pretty sizable margin after they all make their second and final pit stops. But I think the advantage is in the two-stop today, and I think Leclerc might be in trouble and have maybe gotten it wrong again with Ferrari. But we will wait and see what happens now as we continue on at lap 20 at this point, and again on the run into turn 1. Devin Butler is going to be able to pass me. It's going to be a long road forward here, and honestly, I think it's going to take a safety car to be able to, actually get a decent result. We could still maybe score a top 15 out of this. We are ahead of the pair of Alpines that self-spun themselves now, and we're sticking with Butler, and we are reeling in the pair of Haas cars of Kasper Ackerman as well as Nico Hulkenberg. As here we go, a move to the right side of Butler. We're going to try and get him again with the DRS and try to open up that gap. We're not far away, about 5 laps from our pit stop now, as we've got trouble. Lando Norris, the leader, with a mechanical failure, and it's going to be day over for him, and McLaren are going to be devastated with that. Max Verstappen now retakes the lead here in the race. I say retakes, he hadn't led all day long, but Verstappen now out in front here in Mexico. Leclerc sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and this battle with Butler continues on. He passes me yet again as we continue to not be able to open up enough of a gap over the course of the lap, and he's close enough to where he can just drive right on past me. Very frustrating currently now as we continue to just follow suit behind him, but we're not far at all from pit stops. And again, lap 24, another move to the left side, and we will be able to get past Butler. We are reeling in Kasper Ackerman in his final handful of races as a Formula 1 driver now, as Verstappen coming to lap 25 comes into the pits from the lead. Alonso and others as well. Everybody on the 2-stop strategy pitting. Sainz will box. Leclerc will stay out on the 1-stop strategy. So he's going all the way to the end of this Grand Prix. The question is, does he have enough of a gap to be able to maintain that lead? The 1-stop worked in Coda. Will it work in Mexico? That's the big question. I don't think it's going to, as our pit window is open, but I'm going to extend it just a little bit now, as Sergio Perez has just come into the pit lane as well. He has been slowly working his way forward as we continue to slip and slide around this racetrack. The balance, it's been rough all race long. It just hasn't quite been what I needed it to be as we come to 10 laps to go, and we're making our second and final pit stop, actually double stacking the Williams. Albon just pitted as well. We do lose a very small amount of time to get the soft compound tire on here and rejoin this race. We'll come out in front of Devin Butler comfortably. We did open up the gap to Butler right at the end of that run. Now we've got 6 seconds and a half, near 7 seconds to make up on Kasper Ackerman, so we would get to work immediately. We're P17. What can we do before this race is over? That's the big question. Look at the track map. Charles Leclerc leads the way over Lando Norris, but they are closing in, and you can see it visually coming down as the laps go on. Lap 29 coming to lap 30, and Leclerc is slowly coming under pressure as he's got about a 3.7 second advantage. Sorry, that's Oscar Piastri, not Lando Norris. I completely got the names wrong there. Of course, Norris out of the Grand Prix. Verstappen chasing Piastri on the run into turn 1 as well. Can he make a move? Not quite right there, as Piastri is also on that 1-stop strategy. Hamilton as well, just behind. But Verstappen, if he can complete this pass on the McLaren right here, it's game on. I don't think Leclerc can maintain a 3-second gap over 7 laps as they head down into the braking zone. Side by side, not easy from Piastri, makes it difficult on Verstappen, but Verstappen is going to get the job done as we'll go through the grid.
Leclerc's lead continues to reduce as Verstappen is closing on the 2-stop strategy. Have Ferrari gotten it wrong 2 weeks in a row?
That appears to be the case. He is losing too much time, and I'll be impressed if he hangs on to a podium here. The 1-stop was the way in Texas, and 2-stopping is the way here. Ferrari have done the exact opposite of that both times for Leclerc.
The pair of Alpines also on the 1-stop as they try to recover from both drivers self-spinning earlier in the race. It's been a rough few weeks for the French team.
We know they have good pace, though. They need to keep pushing, and they will have good things coming. I am sure of that.
And at the back of the grid, there it is, Devin Butler. We have run down Ackerman. Ocon on the 1-stop is quite slow. We're running him down. We might even run down Gasly, who's also on a 1-stop strategy, and we know how off-cycle the 2 Alpine cars are. We would get right up to the back of Kasper Ackerman. We're not going to pass him into turn 1, but we should be able to get him out of 2, out of 3 as well, and now have a nice run down this second DRS straightaway. We'll go to the right side of the track. Ackerman, usually one of the more respectful drivers drivers in the field to fight, and he doesn't make it too hard. He keeps his nose looking up the inside, has nothing for us, moving us into P16. We are quickly running down Esteban Ocon as Max Verstappen has run down Charles Leclerc on lap 33. Not what Ferrari need. Verstappen to the lead here in Mexico. Hamilton might get Leclerc as well, and don't even rule out Alonso, who's 4 seconds back now, as we have run down Esteban Ocon starting this 33rd lap as well, and it's going to be pretty easy for us. We breeze up to the back of him, pull out to the left side, and we're going to sail it off into turn 1, clear at the apex, an easy pass there a little bit deep into turn 1. We've been quite aggressive on our turn 1 braking when we are making some overtakes now, as Lewis Hamilton, lap 34, 3 laps to go, he goes past the Ferrari into P2, and Leclerc could be under pressure from Fernando Alonso before this is over, and Carlos Sainz hasn't made up enough ground either. So right now, with how Verstappen's running with leading this race, how Perez is running, which is only just inside the top 10, another rough day, but it's still going to be enough as they run right now to increase the Constructors' Championship lead over Ferrari, and that's the key for Red Bull keeping Perez on for the rest of the season, is can they continue to maintain a Constructors' Championship lead, as now Fernando Alonso starting the final lap of this Grand Prix is going to go up the inside of Leclerc and pass him. Leclerc drops to P4. We have been continuously running down the cars in front. Our teammate of Albon on par to get 1 point for the team. Now as Russell passes Piastri, and as we head towards the start of this final lap, we are up on the back of Bottas, who's up on the back of Hulkenberg. Can Bottas get a run into turn 1 on the hard tire against the soft compound tire on the Haas? Now we could get 14th or 13th depending on what happens right here in front of us on this final lap. They're wheel to wheel into turn 1. They slide, the Haas back end whips around, and we have joined the party. They go wheel to wheel, and we are going to get a good run. We're going to go 3 wide for P13, nearly into the side of the Haas there, and we pull back to the right side of the track. Who's going to come out on top of this one? It's myself and Bottas, wheel to wheel, and we should be able to get the position from both. Yes, we do. Bottas fights back on the left. Not enough. We slide. We take P13. Max Verstappen out of the final turn with a 3-second gap over Lewis Hamilton, wins in Mexico and gets 1 step closer to securing his 4th consecutive world title. As for myself, we managed to rebound to P13. Gasly on the one-stop still manages to hang on to P12. Perez just inside the points. Tsunoda will maintain P11 at the end. Albon P10. A point for Williams, but unfortunately it's for my teammate and not myself. It wasn't meant to be today. Nothing quite went right. Honestly, I'm happy with the rebound drive at this point because it was, difficult from start to finish. We pulled it off as Perez, surprisingly, will earn Driver of the Day at home.
The thin air makes this event a brutal one for these Formula One cars, but this team have done a fantastic job to make it to the checkered flag and take a well-earned victory today.
So Max Verstappen picks up another win on the season. He gets to celebrate, and he is, like I said, 1 step closer to getting his 4th consecutive world title, just like he did in real life last night, last night at the time that I'm recording this in the Las Vegas Grand Prix. So Verstappen celebrates on the podium. How about Fernando Alonso? We talked about it. Aston Martin, now the best team in the R&D on the charts at least, and it certainly seems to be looking that way. Alonso has been having some strong finishes, including some podiums, and we know with Adrian Newey heading to that team next season, they could become a powerhouse, and that's why we know Lance Stroll is on the hot seat, because he is struggling very hard. As we'll take a look at the finishing order, and he ended up P9, Perez P8, but still enough to increase Red Bull's championship lead over Ferrari going into Brazil, Las Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. 4 races remain. Perez's future remains secure for now. Looking at the drivers and constructors standings, of course, the constructors one is really what we're focused on now, and it's going to be Red Bull ahead by 59, and we are, of course, not far behind Alpine, 11 points behind Alpine, 7 points ahead of Haas, so we are in a fight of our own there. And in the Drivers' Championship, Verstappen with a 69-point advantage could win the title next time out in Brazil. I'll see you guys then. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.